You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There's a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for the week of March 7th, 2025. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where our Wi-Fi password is longer than most Republican policy plans. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal. Hello, Gal.
Hey, Driftglass. Well, we want to thank Bob Cesca once again for having us on this week on his show. And it was a lot of fun.
It was.
And we welcome all the Cesca listeners tuning in for the first time. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you.
And thanks as well, because I had to hurry up quick, leave that podcast to go and be with Brad Friedman over at his podcast with Desi and Digby. And our conversation this week on the Bradcast was welcome. And once again, thank you to them for inviting me over to their house. We had a really interesting time.
Oh, fortunately, it's all at the Sirius XM headquarters, so it was just easy one level down the hall. You know?
Yeah, we just go down the hall. We're on the east wing. We take up the east wing of the.
We're
so
not.
We have a bunch of Segways parked in the hallway, so we can scoot down the hall.
Scooty scoot.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Pod Save America, which I swear to you is gonna merge with the Bulwark at some point in the next 6 months.
You heard it here first.
Because they are crossing over like nobody's business.
Yep.
And they are.
Well, they've got to compete with Midas Touch. So,
right. And
which is off the charts successful and good for them.
Yeah. That's great.
We do not, we're not jealous of any good liberal getting success.
No, not at all. We are indignant about, because I'm on all these other podcasts. You're on all these other podcasts. There's lots of really good liberal podcasters and talkers out there. Digby and Desi and Brad and
Cliff Schechter. We've been on his show.
And there is
Hal
no
Sparks,
reason.
We've been on his show. Yeah.
There is no reason that those people should not get or should not have gotten the chair pulled out for them on MSNBC the way that every never-Trumper, every Republican who quit the party got lavished with money and attention and support and infrastructure and exposure and free promotion for their books on MSNBC. It was just ridiculous, the amount of the people who were wrong all the time, and
who did real harm to this country. Some of them
they really did.
Did real harm to this country.
The reason we're in this position is because Republicans are locked into a view that we are baby-killing, America-hating, terrorist-loving scum, which is what these people were helping to trowel out for decades. Mm-hmm. And the idea that you would just turn around immediately, not just say, thanks, grab an oar and help us, but thanks, here, we're going to pull out a chair for you and give you all the support and kindness. We're going to forget everything you've done, and we're going to give you book deals and TV contracts and media gigs and all the major newspapers. Well, what the fuck, man? How about the people who weren't wrong from the beginning? And I don't even mean you and me. That'd be nice. Yeah. But there's lots of people who earned by the scorn that was heaped on them, by the abuse they took, by the way they were ignored by everybody and shit on, who finally turned out to be right. And they lived to watch the people who shit on them step right over them and take over the media. And I think that's part of the problem, because the true liberal message has a real hard time getting out there.
Yeah.
Instead of the stuff we get from, the Lincoln Project is back to doing its, can you believe this? Doing these really nice videos, I assume very expensive, of Vladimir Putin walking Trump like a dog. Don't let him see this. He won't like it. It'll drive him crazy. Hey, that didn't work before. It's not going to work now. It'll make a lot of liberals happy to watch that, but it won't change one vote or one mind anywhere. But it will make the Lincoln Project proprietors another $5 or $7, $10 million. I guess that's the most important thing. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't mean to get us off on that track.
No, you wind you up, and that's just where you go. Look, combined, this is our 5th podcast this week. We're used to doing 2.
Yeah.
But counting my knitting podcast, counting the Bradcast, Cesca, and my knitting podcast, where this week I do a deep dive into the story of Madame Defarge and knitting during the French Revolution. So we've got that going for us.
And you have a T-shirt, don't you?
I have a Madame Defarge knitting school, established 1775, cutting edge and revolutionary T-shirt. Yes, I do.
And
I'm wearing it right
you,
now, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
According to you, she got a bum rap, I understand.
I think that she was written by Dickens to illustrate the extremities that revolution can take.
Mm-hmm.
But she was justified in being driven mad by how aristocrats treated her family.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
She lost members of her family to an aristocracy that was completely above the law.
Right.
And there was, what other avenue did she have as a poor, a middle class, let's say, woman? Mm-hmm. Her husband owned a wine shop. Mm-hmm. And what other course did she have?
Mm-hmm.
But to get stabby and sit there and watch aristocrats lose their heads. Because her sister lost her head. Her brother lost his head. They all died. For
no damn good reason.
For no damn good reason other than an aristocratic family took advantage of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sometimes rolling the tumbrils out is the right thing to do.
Sometimes, if people feel completely powerless to do anything else, and I think we're getting to that point with Elon Musk of just, he gets to do whatever he wants.
Yep.
And if it's a mistake, well, then it's just a little mistake. Never mind if, people are taking their own lives. I hate to say that, but some are.
And there are people who are starving to death now. Over USAID being cut off. And
if you think you voted for Trump because you want this to be a Christian nation, fuck you.
Yeah. No, you voted for this.
The command of Jesus Christ is to feed the hungry.
Yeah.
And you have allowed that to be turned off. And there are people starving in this world because of your vote. It's your fault. It is on you. It is on you. You are going to hell for it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm not sorry.
You will answer to God for what you did. And
even the ineffectual Marco Rubio thought he could stop it. Thought he could. Maybe I can make some special exceptions.
Some little waivers.
Yeah. And then no, the incel kids decided no, you don't get to do that.
People who have not been confirmed by the Senate even for the jobs that exist,
who never appeared before anybody, any committee anywhere to be vetted for anything. Are in your Social Security system up to their asses, are in your Medicare system up to their asses.
If you voted for Trump, you deserve everything that's coming in this life and hereafter. And I'm serious. We talk about, I just believe in spirituality and maybe something happens after we die or not. I'm beginning to believe in just
divine justice.
Pearly gates, you get turned away.
Yeah. Well,
God is a black woman.
that is not quite my level of faith, but
I'm
I do.
To the point at this point.
I am aware.
When I see what's going on, I'm so angry.
I know that look in your eyes when I don't do the dishes. I know that look. It's bad. No, I have faith in the power of reality. There's a theologian that I've been listening to and reading, John Dominic Cross, and I mentioned him once or twice before, who does not believe in the afterlife. Doesn't believe in miracles. He doesn't believe in a vengeful God. He just believes in consequences.
Yeah.
When you do things to the earth and to each other, there are consequences for that.
Yeah.
When you raise the planetary temperature by X number of degrees and you start having wild weather and storms in deserts, that's not God. Those are consequences.
Those are consequences of your actions and your behavior. Yes.
And there's a lot of theology behind a lot of this, and I find it very interesting and kind of reasonable. It is a reasonable theology. But I still, it comes down to, I believe in reality. I believe in math. I believe in causality.
Yeah.
And I believe that these people are going to have a reckoning, and it's going to hurt all of us. Yeah. All of us. We've already lost our standing. We're already a pariah nation.
Yep.
Because
and
of
we're off the stable democracies list.
Yeah.
Period.
And because of what our Republican neighbors did, what they chose to do 3 times in a row, they chose to do this. 3
Enemy
times.
Action.
They have denied democracy 3 times, and now come the consequences. and it's going to
suck. The cock is crowing.
It is.
Yes.
And it's going to suck for all of us. But the more I see them, going, I didn't mean to, or didn't intend to, or blah, blah, blah. Nope. The door is closed. The book of judgment is closed on you. You don't get to rewrite history again.
Right.
If we have anything to say about it, because
right. Nope, you don't.
The judgment is coming, and right quick.
January 6th happened. It was bad. It was Republicans.
And you voted for it.
Believing a lie that Donald Trump told them.
And you voted for it. Meanwhile.
Right, anyway, there's a lot of stuff happening today.
Thank you for our podcast. Each week.
That was a whole vent. But look, let's dive in. Let's start with story number 1. Hat tip Dexter, who sends us a tip. Sometimes it seems like every 10 minutes. He is so helpful to us.
Yeah. Sometimes it's overwhelming how helpful he is.
Well, you don't have to open every email.
I don't?
And I don't, but I read all the headlines. And we're using some of Dexter's stuff today, and we often do, and we really appreciate it. Dexter sent this in. This is from Boing Boing. Quote, the nonprofit publication The Intercept has shared Elon Musk's government email address. The Intercept has acquired Elon's government email address and is sharing it to make FOIA requests regarding DOGE activity more manageable and less likely to be rejected. The feds will declare requests that do not include an official's government email address too vague. So if you're looking for an official's emails and you ask for them, then the government says, well, what's the email address you want? Right? Well, now they've got it.
Yeah, I got it.
We cleared up that problem. That's what this is, Boing Boing. This clears up that problem. What else can you do with this email address? It's up to you. According to a source, Musk has been assigned the email address erm71@who.eop.gov. The email address reflects his attachment to the White House office, the executive office of the president, and apparently Musk's full initials plus his birth year, 1971. This differs from the standard format for EOP emails, which typically include the staffer's full first and last name. Well, that's helpful to know.
Yeah.
The Intercept has already filed more than a dozen FOIA requests and it's for the contents of all the emails that Musk sends. That's what they're asking for. Unquote.
Well, now I know what you've been asking yourself. You've all been asking yourself, why isn't Peter Navarro working in Trump's White House as a valuable member and felon? Isn't he perfectly qualified for the job? Perhaps because he's actually too crazy for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because also remember when he kept admitting crimes on television, that wasn't helpful. That doesn't make us feel good. That's a feel bad. In our house, we call those uh-ohs.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, you did a Navarro right on the rug. This is from our own Crooks and Liars, which reports that Navarro went on Fox and declared that Canada has been overrun by Mexican drug cartels. Wow. That's terrifying, if true. So apparently under Trump, this happened under Trump, the entire United States is just this pathway, just a highway to Canada with Mexican drug cartels where they can come and go as they please, crossing borders again and again with Canadian Prime Minister Pablo Escobar Trudeau turning a blind eye and laughing all the way. Ha ha, go against the Americans. Go get some easy drugs. Take that fentanyl down to them. The words made in Canada tricking our citizens into thinking Canadian fentanyl must be as safe as poutine. But seriously, this is a direct quote from that Peter Navarro on Fox, where I have to assume he was very drunk when he said this, because otherwise he's just out of his mind. Quote, Canada has been taken over, Brett. Oh, it's talking to Brett. Well, there you go. By Mexican cartels. They bring up these press pills and printers and the medicines they fake. You can't tell the difference. Unquote. I know. I've tried them all and I couldn't tell the difference.
They bring up these pill presses and printers and medicines that they fake.
That's right. They fake. You can't tell the difference.
They're so wily they can cross the entire lower 48 into Canada.
And you never see it.
You never see them. They go on the plane.
They're using the Trans-Siberian Railroad. No, that's not right. It really is at some point, they just have these half-formed bumper stickers in their brain, and they just put them together and shake them up like, I don't know, an Etch-a-Sketch that rewords things, and out comes crazy. And this is the advantage of having a base that are morons and bigots, entirely made up of just entirely grotesque, malformed creatures who will believe anything. Because it occurred to me today, Blue Gal, it must have been exhausting for years to have to keep changing your opinion every time the Republican Party changes the party line. Deficits are bad, deficits are good, deficits don't matter. The Iraq War is great, the Iraq War is terrible, I never heard of George Bush. At some point, psychologically, you just give up and say, whatever Fox News shits into my head today is what I will tell liberals tomorrow. I don't want to argue anymore. I don't want to have to figure things out or do math or know anything. I'm going to be a member of this party. So whatever they've shit into my skull, that's the truth today. And that's where Peter Navarro is. Really. He's a great
Pablo Escobar Trudeau,
as he is known.
As he is known in the cartel.
Wait a minute. Are we tariffing our Canadian fentanyl? Because are we putting a tariff on Canadian fentanyl?
Tariff on Canadian fentanyl? Oh, no.
Yeah. Headline news. Mm-hmm.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Let's go back for a minute to Elon Musk.
Yeah. Oh, must be.
Who met with Republican senators who are a little bit pissed that their constituents might hold them accountable for Musk's break everything in the government activities. Note, I did not say, and I did not put in our show notes, that they were upset about Musk and what he's doing.
Right.
Just that their constituents in their states and their donors might be mad about it.
Right. Hold them accountable for it. Yeah.
Right. If someone calls me about it, then I'm going to be upset. Whatever you want to do, apparently is okay.
Yeah.
We clapped for you, Elon. But, if I get a call from one of my $1 million donors whose contracts are being stolen by you, Elon, then what do I do? Right. So, not to worry, Elon has a fail-safe he just built in March for these Republican senators. It's a hotline they can call to get problematic cuts reversed quickly, according to Lindsey Graham.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
That's real government stability there.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to cut everything, and then if we get a call from a senator complaining on the hotline,
a Republican senator,
only a Republican senator,
right,
we'll consider putting it back.
Mm-hmm.
Talking Points memo notes, quote, "There's a budget, appropriated money that defines what the government does and provides the money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But Musk, absent any visibility even for much of the executive branch, is simply changing everything. But wait, he's going to set up a system where Republican members of Congress can call and ask to get problematic cuts reversed quick. What the fuck?" Unquote.
Yeah. I predict
this is not how government is supposed to work.
Well, this is how despotism works.
This is how despotic, authoritarian governments work.
This is how the mob works. You got just if you straighten that out with the guy, we'll send them around. Oh yeah, your power can be turned back on. I predict a lot of people calling, like from Illinois, saying, "Hello, this is Mary Miller from Illinois. We would like our road money turned back on. Thank you very much." Yeah. Who is this really? Yeah, I said it's Mary Miller. I'm a very Republican.
Mary Miller.
I'm a Republican lady from Illinois.
And Hitler did some good things, says Mary Miller.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm predicting a whole bunch of people are going to fake Republican accents and call in and claim to be, Republican Congress people.
Turn our money back on, please.
But this is just nuts. And really is it shows the sham of the entire tariff and DOGE thing,
and the DOGE. Yeah, it's all to get all of the contracts to belong to Elon and Starlink and wherever else.
Well, it's all to screw with the markets and just flick tariffs on and off and flick and just make everybody personally beholden to the emperor for personally financing their little projects in their own districts.
Yep.
And if you're a member of my party and you supplicate yourself appropriately, Elon will allow your shit to be funded.
Yep.
And until Elon doesn't exist anymore and his little incel posse are in prison, this is going to go on.
Yep.
So maybe it's time to consider a citizen's arrest and deportation of Elon Musk. Yeah. I know that he's hired 100 new thugs to protect him, and I think that's 100 too few. I think there's a whole lot of people who are going to want to see Elon move to Mars immediately.
Sent to Mars, or at least sent to South Africa, and never to be seen again. He's not even a full American citizen.
No, he's not.
He has dual citizenship with Canada. You know why?
Mm-hmm.
Pablo Escobar Trudeau. That's
right.
Why.
He sold him.
He gets all his ketamine in Canada.
Yeah, that good Canadian ketamine.
The good Canadian ketamine.
That's the good stuff. It smells like ice hockey and maple syrup, and freedom. Or I should say the 51st state of the United States, our good friends, Fentanyl Canada. I am really having trouble believing that I'm not still asleep, Blue Gal. So, but I will plow on, because I've been on 2 podcasts this week, other than this one, talking about the goddamn speech. Uh-huh. And I don't want to talk about Trump's speech anymore, except to say that in that speech he said explicitly the following: "I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE." Perhaps you've heard of it. Unlike Lesotho, which no one's ever heard of, they're making up country names. It was, if you didn't listen to the speech, don't. But it really was just a global...
But he did diss Lesotho.
He's never heard of it. He thinks it's a made-up place.
Yeah.
And he called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. And it's just such a filthy, disgusting ass bag of a man. And everyone who voted for him, I think less of everyone who votes for him than I do of him, because he is who he is. But you had to choose to put this scumbag back in office, which is why burn in hell, fuckheads. Anyway, he's created this brand new thing, which is headed by Elon Musk, who's in the gallery tonight. All the Republicans clapped for many minutes while Musk did a fairly adequate job of withholding his Nazi salute this time. See, he can be taught, Blue Gal. He can be taught.
Yes, he can. Mm-hmm. Right. While all the Republicans were clapping for him, he saluted with his hand at his forehead rather than doing the Nazi salute. Somebody trained him.
And, but ABC News, those spoil sports, they report that, quote, lawyers representing a large group, a group of nonprofits and unions that are challenging the legality of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, included an excerpt from the speech in their filing Tuesday. Oh, that's so lovely. With the U.S. District Court for Washington, D.C. to argue that more information is urgently needed to ascertain the nature of the budget slashing group. The White House has represented that DOGE is actually run by Administrator Amy Gleason, nicknamed Patsy, rather than by Musk. Right. Yeah, rather than by, oh God, she's some chick lives in a trailer in Kentucky, and she's apparently in charge of this. I don't know if she's aware of that. I think she was vacationing in Mexico. She was
vacationing in Mexico when they announced that this person who, is legitimately working for the government in some fashion.
I'm in charge of what?
Picked her because she has no contracts like Elon does.
Yeah, she's free of conflict of interest, so they can pick her out of a hat. But she rolled out of bed one day because she's down there making sure the pathway for Mexican drug cartels to make it all the way to Canada is wide open and clear. They got all the papers, and she rolls out of bed and goes, "I'm in charge of what now? What?" So the White House forgot that their president is a diarrhea mouth. And that if what he said on television is the actual truth instead of the official lie, go figure, Elon Musk may very well be in for a world of hurt for his blatant violation of conflict of interest laws. Now, I don't think for a minute that the Supreme Court, which is completely overrun by Trumpite scum, would ever hold him accountable. But I'm not sure this sort of case would ever reach the Supreme Court.
I'm not sure either. Amy Coney Barrett is showing signs of being a little bit independent of that. And it only takes 5. Yeah. So, I'm not sure. I don't like the Supreme Court as it's made up. No. And I'd like to kick 5 of them out. But we shall see. We shall see.
Well, they voted 5-4, a bare majority, that the U.S. has to pay its bills?
Right. Has to pay for things they already bought from USAID.
But that's 4 people voted against that. 4 people in the Supreme Court voted against.
Alito was really pissed.
Yeah. And I just think that if we're doing a Martian expedition and we have room for 6, I can think of 6 people I think we should put in the, and if you've ever read the Marching Morons.
Launch to Mars.
If you've ever read the Marching Morons, you know the kind of rocket ship I'm referring to. If not, drop me a note.
Yeah. You want to put them on the B arc is what you mean.
It's ships that's not designed to make it all the way there with everything intact. Let's just say.
I was thinking of Hitchhiker's Guide on the B arc.
Oh, no. No. This is a ship that, it's the Hotel California of spaceships. You check in, but you never leave. Anyway.
All right. Next up, look, you think Republicans in Congress are bad?
They are.
Republicans in state houses across the country.
That's true.
If you can do anything to flip a seat in your state from R to D, please do it. Because they're just the worst.
Oh, there's an
Missouri.
Outfit, just FYI, there's an outfit called Run for Something.
Run for Something, yeah.
Yeah. And look them up. And if you have any inclination to run for anything, look them up.
And Missouri is one of the worst.
It is.
This is via Wonkat. Quote, back in November, Missouri residents, to their credit, voted to legalize abortion in their state.
Yep.
And since then, Republican legislators in Missouri have been going balls to the wall trying to undo that in every legal and illegal way possible. And their latest scheme, I'm sorry, I want to cry, but I can't help but laugh. They want to allow people to donate to crisis pregnancy centers in lieu of paying taxes. What could go wrong? Driftglass?
It's a great idea. It's a great plan, Blue Gal.
Yeah. This is Wonkat. So that instead of having money for education or healthcare or living children or literally anything else in the state, these crisis pregnancy centers can pay themselves obscene amounts of money to convince pregnant people that they will go to hell if they have an abortion. The proposal would establish a 100% tax credit capped at $50,000 on donations to crisis pregnancy centers, which would mean that theoretically almost every household in the state would be able to donate everything they owe in taxes to them and defund the state government entirely. Now, that's absurd. But what is on the books right now is absurd as well. There is already a 70% tax credit on donations to crisis pregnancy centers. That was a provision of the state's trigger law that went into effect after Roe v. Wade was overturned. That in itself was an increase from a previous 50% tax credit to these organizations. I got to imagine that there are legislators on the boards of these crisis pregnancy centers in Missouri.
They'll find a way and put that money in their pocket.
Speaking of budgets, in 2024, Missouri spent only $11,349 per public school student in that year, whereas Illinois spent $16,277 and New York spent over $24,000 per student. Twice as much per student is spent in New York State than in Missouri.
Are you surprised?
No.
This is why we know what we're talking about. We're surrounded on almost all sides by these people. And we are surrounded within our state by these people. I was going to read last episode, maybe I'll do it in a future one, just some articles from, Gun Lovers Magazine, which is handed out free here at every store about the welfare state of Chicago and the gun grabbers and how much we owe Donald Trump to stop the gun grabbers from taking our guns away, blah, 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 blah. And they're all over the place down here. You don't need to send New York Times safaris into the interior with people who've never crossed the Hudson River to find out what people in Pennsylvania diners are thinking. We can tell you because we live among them. We can be your Trump whisperers. So if you have 5 minutes, let me talk to you about L. Ron Hubbard, Blue Gal.
Yeah, you wanted to talk about L. Ron Hubbard. I thought this was kind of interesting.
I have a pamphlet here, and I'd like to just take 5 minutes of your time to tell you how I can save your soul.
Dianetics, no.
Rid you of your body thetans, send them back to the volcano where they belong. No. Because L. Ron Hubbard, everybody knows L. Ron Hubbard as the founder of Scientology. But before he invented that highly successful lawsuit-intensive method of separating celebrities from their money, L. Ron Hubbard was a writer of pulp fiction. And I've written about this on my blog a couple of times before. He was one of those penny-a-word guys who had rolls of butcher paper on his wall that rolled straight into his typewriter. So he could type fast, and never have to change pages. You just rip them off once he's done and move on to the next one. And he used an IBM typewriter that was specially modified with extra keys for words like and the and but to increase the speed of his output, because every word is money. Every letter is money. So fast, fast, fast. This is from Wikipedia. Quote, although he was best known for his pulp fantasy and science fiction and, inventing Scientology, Hubbard also wrote adventure, aviation, travel, mystery, Western, and romance. He wrote under his own name and as Kurt von Rachen and René Lafayette. Those were his principal science fiction and fantasy pseudonyms. His other pen names included, I love this first one here, Winchester Remington Colt. Guess what kind of stories he wrote under the pseudonym Winchester Remington Colt?
Some Westerns, maybe?
Yes. Horse Guy McBullet, yeah.
Yeah.
Lieutenant John Daly, Captain Charles Gordon, Bernard Hubel, Michael Keith, Legionnaire 148, Legionnaire 14830, Ken Martin, Scott Morgan, or Lieutenant Scott Morgan, Barry Randolph, and Captain Humbert Reynolds, unquote. That's a goddamn lot of pseudonyms because he's sending out a shit ton of stories to all kinds of publications for money. And if you want money from a Western magazine, write under the name Winchester Remington Colt. But if you want to write adventure stories for an Army magazine, Captain Charles Gordon would be great. Lends credibility. So Hubbard wrote for money. I mean, cold, hard cash. So if word got around that, say, New Mystery Adventures was paying a decent rate this month, Hubbard was going to dash off The Cossack, a final confrontation between Colonel Komarov and the woman he had spurned in pre-revolutionary Russia ends in death for both.
It's Anna Karenina.
Yeah.
It's Pulp Fiction. Yes.
I'm Store Anna Karenina.
Yeah.
But if Westerns were hot next month, cowboy stories might see Plans for the Boy. The son of a rancher saves his father's spread from a mesa fire set by enemies and dramatically changes his own future. They might see that arrive in the mail at the same time that Top Notch magazine found medals for Mahoney. Mahoney and a native medicine man collaborate to thwart a murderous plot to defraud the trading company. Wow. Waiting on their doorstep. These are actual stories written by L. Ron Hubbard for various magazines. Hubbard didn't write Man Killers of the Air. A daredevil pilot wins an international air race, foiling a scheme to sabotage his plane. He didn't write that story to raise the level of national discourse about air travel or for the betterment of mankind. He wrote it because 5 novels monthly would pay him to do it, pay him money for it. And here's the point. L. Ron Hubbard never argued with the editor of Man Killers of the Air that they should buy a cowboy story from him or a time travel story from him because he wasn't stupid. He wrote for money. So he wrote what the audience wanted to read and therefore what an editor would pay for. If he found that Ace High Western was paying a good rate, then he'd crank out a cowboy story. Unless Astounding was paying a better rate that month, in which case he'd probably do a time travel story first. And forgetting this basic lesson in getting your story published is what too many Democrats are doing wrong. Because they're trying to sell a democracy is in danger story.
Molly, you in danger, girl.
To we don't believe democracy is in danger, and even if we did, we really don't care magazine. That magazine is not interested in hearing from you about democracy being in danger. Or if you prefer screenplays, they're trying to sell an elevated Merchant Ivory costume period drama piece about the perils of tyranny to Blumhouse, the people who make Sinister and the Purge franchise and Happy Death Day. And on the last episode, we talked about the fallacy of pitching any persuasion strategy on convincing something called the American people or the public or the voters. Practically speaking, there are no such groups that are homogeneous enough or homogenous enough to be considered a group. I believe we use the example of daddy-daughter car commercials where safety and nostalgia are key persuaders. There's dad. He's kind of old. He's got a little gray in his hair. He's wearing what I'm wearing right now, which is flannel. And he's watching his 18-year-old daughter pack up her car, and she's on her phone chatting with her friends, and he's looking kind of sad and nostalgic. And then we cut back to her again, and she's 5 years old or 3 years old. And he's putting her in the car, and he's strapping a safety belt across her chest because he remembers how important she is, and he loves her very much, and he wants her to be as safe as possible. So that's why he bought her a Volvo. Or gave
Allstate
her
or whatever,
right. No, or
right.
his used car, which was bought because safety was very important. those ads are not aimed at some group called the American people. They're aimed at me.
They're aimed
personally.
at Driftglass.
And I go, I want to buy a Volvo now. I just want to.
Why can't I get youngest child a Volvo? Because then they'll be safe.
They'll be super duper safe. And ad people know that. They're targeting me. They're targeting me. As I said before with Harbor Freight ads. I'm not dumb, but those ads are specifically targeted to a person who's likely to buy what you're selling and listen to the words you're using to sell them.
Yeah.
If you want to win elections, stop trying to sell disinterested or stupid swing voters something they don't want to buy. They don't want to buy democracy. They don't believe democracy is a danger, or they don't care.
Because they vote every 2 years or every 4 years, and they vote on Dancing with the Stars, and they want to know who's going to win Masked Singer. Democracy is already okay.
Democracy is fine. There's a lot of hubbub about it. I'm sure I understand it. There's something about voting machines and
both sides. Both sides are bad,
But I voted, and nobody came to my house and told me I couldn't, or maybe I did. I don't remember. But those people are not interested in hearing about democracy being in danger. I know it is. We know it is. We know that is the most important issue as far as the survival of this country goes. They don't want to hear that. They're not interested. They don't believe it, or they're just stupid, or they're detached. Instead, we need to find out what they will buy and sell that to them.
Well, and they're buying, it is really interesting to see them, average Americans, getting up in arms about how veterans are being treated.
Yes.
And veterans' care being cut. And veterans being fired. And it turns out, it's not just the VA.
No.
Veterans make up a good chunk of the entire federal workforce.
Yes, they do.
In every department, because they get preferential hiring for veterans. The state of Illinois, if Driftglass and I had any military service in our background, we'd be working for the state of Illinois right now.
100%. 100%.
Because that is the one question they ask every time you go in to apply for a state job. Are you a vet? Oh, okay. Well, then we're going to put your application in the blue pile, because those people get hired.
It's also a question they ask at Lowe's.
Yeah. Right.
Veterans discount. And you know what? We think that's great because you know what? We believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Right.
We absolutely believe that people who have served the country deserve equity and inclusion in the workforce, should have that counted in their favor.
Absolutely. Because you've gone through that experience, and perhaps whether or not you've had any disability as a result of your service, it's not a disability to be a vet.
No.
it's skills.
Asset. It's skill.
You've learned skills, right? So, and I want to talk I think you're right, Driftglass. I'm beginning to think that instead of hiring people, like the Lincoln Project to do ads, maybe they do just need to hire some people right out of Madison Avenue.
I swear to God.
To sell
Hollywood.
Or Hollywood.
Hollywood's really good at well, they suck recently, but they used to be very good at putting, and we talked about Passage to Marseille.
Yes, right.
And not just Passage to Marseille, the movie, but the way that the Warner Brothers bragged about the patriotism of their movies and how Americans love patriotic movies, and we're there to sell them patriotic movies, and we believe
are
in
there to defend
too.
Democracy and entertain. Those are our two missions in life in 1943.
And again, what you said, I do want to loop back to that one more time, which is we got on our high horses repeatedly saying, however much you personally are titillated by a bunch of Lincoln Project commercials that cost an arm and a leg and are being created and produced by their own companies. So they're paying themselves for these things. They're not moving the needle because they're not targeted to the right people. They're targeted at you. You're already going to vote for the black lady.
You're going to vote Democrat no matter what. I am. So yes, absolutely.
This is, as I said, this is Pornhub for liberals.
Yes, it is.
Political Pornhub for liberals. That's all it is. It's not doing anything. And stop doing that. Start bringing in veterans and single moms and people with kids and Madison Avenue people. And
sick people and people in nursing homes.
Right.
And working women, working professional soccer moms.
Yeah. And I'm sorry.
Whose mom is in a nursing home, and that allows me to go to work and pay my mortgage. And I see my mom every night after work go show the lovely, faithful daughter, the faithful daughter who wants the best for her mom.
Yeah.
And goes to see her mom every night after work.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God she has a clean, safe place to be during the day so that I can go to work and she is treated with dignity thanks to Medicaid.
Right. Exactly.
Because there's no way I could ever afford a place like this to take care of her 24/7. And you have ads like that. That's a 30-second spot. Medicaid. Thanks, Medicaid, for making my mom have a clean, safe place to be.
Yeah.
And you know, I've talked about this idea before, the boomers, not boomers, boomers, BOOMBERS. It's called boomers. You're boomers. Be out of mom's basement. Young men, we know you need your own place.
Hell yeah.
You know, so you can get laid.
Yeah.
And we'll show a guy in his own apartment where he's having his girlfriend over for dinner.
Right. Yeah, well, two scenes.
And they're eating pizza in front of the TV, and we know what that means.
2 scenes. On the couch in mom's living room, trying to make your moves and like, are you okay out there, Jimmy? I'm okay. I'm fine. Or with like 3 roommates. All right, what's going on out there? Nothing. We're fine.
Yeah.
And then your own place, man. Yeah.
Yeah. You got your own
candlelight
rent-controlled apartment that the Democratic Party said, look, we understand
housing,
that people, you know, single people under 35 need a place to be.
Right.
To have their own place is a goal, and that's the American dream, and we believe in that.
A place to call
home. We're going to build boomer housing. We built housing in 1946 for that generation, and it created an economic boom. It's time once again to build housing for young single people so that they can start their lives and create the next American boom. BOOMB. Be out of mom's basement.
And there are a dozen things like that we can do. You know, and what you have to do is you got to end these little commercials with the right hook. And Trump and Elon want to take all this away from you.
Yeah, right.
And Trump and Elon want to stop this young man from having his own place. And Trump and Elon want to make sure.
And we haven't done a good job of marketing. So because we want Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid for everybody.
Right.
We want everybody to have it. We want it to be a universal American value. And that has opened the door for Republicans to cut it.
Right. Exactly.
And we need to start saying Social Security is a Democratic program.
Yep. Always has been. Always has been. FDR signed it. And then show Harry Truman showing LBJ signing Medicaid. Trying to kill it since day one. Been trying to kill this since day one. And we've stopped them like we stopped the Nazis in World War II.
Right.
We stopped these sons of bitches from cutting Social Security for 80 years.
Yeah.
Are you with us or against us?
Are you with us or not? Yeah. Yeah. So, now I think we're out of steam, Driftglass.
I want to go back to bed and not talk about this speech no more, Blue Gal.
Yeah. You've had a week.
Oh, I did want to mention that one of the things we all agreed on the broadcast. And I had this on the top of my second page. I wrote like 6 pages of notes in this goddamn speech. It was boring.
Yeah.
It was boring as hell. I likened it to a circus where the elephant had died and the lion was sick and the tent was falling apart and the ringmaster was like going through the motions because you don't even want to be there. And there's like 9 people in the audience, but they're all cheering wildly about, I want to see the Tigers. Because this was just his goddamn stump speech.
Well, yeah. He doesn't want to learn anything or do anything or master anything.
But it was calling.
He wants to be president so he can stay out of jail and golf.
Right. And call us loony left, loony ticks because that makes the meatheads happy, and call her Pocahontas to her face because that makes the stupids happy and the bigots happy. And then
the misogynists happy. Because Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris weren't there. He went after Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah. And then he wants to list off all the things, the lies about Social Security, because that's where they're going next.
Yeah.
And I agree with Chris Hayes, and I forget who else that said what he did to Social Security reminded them exactly of what he did in 2020 about the election. It was listing off all these false reports and all this fake bullshit in advance of trying to storm the Capitol and take power by force.
They're coming for Social Security.
They're
absolutely coming for Social Security.
And the rest of it was like the most boring ass standard issue State of the Union type speech. Oh, look at that guy up there. Look what I did for him. And him, I made him a cop. And look at me. I'm great. And of course, he's the most abused person in the world. He's the most persecuted person in the world. And everything is the greatest ever done. The greatest margin of any election, the best economy ever. And everything Joe Biden was the worst ever.
18 times he said Joe Biden. Yeah. 18 times. Because it's the stump speech.
And I was trying to figure out how many different writers worked on this thing. I think 5 or 6. Mm-hmm. Because one of them, my theory was one of them for the very ending, the last 3 minutes, took a bunch of Peggy Noonan bullshit and fed it into an AI.
Plugged it into AI, yeah.
And then got the AI good and drunk. and out came this golden city on a hill where everyone can have their own toilet and we can all have swap wives and everything will be a branch in the tree in the sky and the stars. And it was just... And I think the reason it didn't go as well as they hoped was that Joe Scarborough wasn't there to coach him this time.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have any patience to be coached anymore. He doesn't want it.
Well, I won. I'm not going
to. I'm practicing my golf swing in the bedroom. I'm not interested in being president. I'm not. I want the name and the glory, and everybody else do all the work, including my speech.
Well, and for all the people who were like, God, Democrats looked like beaten and sullen, and Al Green stood up and made a really good point, and they looked like they were having the best time of their lives. That's because that's what happened.
Yeah.
As we said before, Democrats tried as hard as we could to win, but the fascists tried a little harder, and they won everything. And this is awful. And I wouldn't even know how to be a congressperson sitting there as these people danced on our graves to our faces. And some people tried to be polite, and some people tried to hold up little paddles, and some people stormed out, and some people walked out, and some people boycotted. God bless them all, because there is no playbook for handling this. There's no, well, here's how you react in front of the camera, and here's how you get off stage. I would like more people to stand up and shout, but and there was a whole thing about, well, what, the courtesy and civility. Fuck civility. Yeah. If the tone police need to be on that rocket to Mars with Elon.
Yeah.
They got to be gone yesterday. So that's all I have.
We're all frustrated. I think we're all really frustrated with the Democratic Party's inability to do more. Mm-hmm. But as I have said many, many times, different roles for different people.
Exactly.
And I talk about how there are rock stars and administrators in the Congress.
Yeah.
And we have a deep bench of both.
Yes, we do.
But there's also Congress and elected officials and activists.
Right.
And members of Congress are not activists. They are institutionalists. They are in the institution of Congress.
Right.
They are not going to be in the streets with you. I mean, I realize. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Some of them are. But I think you and I talked about, look, these people, especially the senior citizens in the Democratic Party, were not built for this. They were built to raise polite objections in committee meetings and give long speeches and make deals behind closed doors about marginal tax rates. That's what they're built for. They're built in the lab to do that.
They are institutionalists, and they're too old. And they're too old to be there.
And they're too old to change. They're too old to change. And they try. They're trying. And it's kind of sad the way they try. But as I told you, I'm not built to be a jockey. I'm way too tall.
He's 6'8", and he doesn't weigh 90 pounds.
I'm not a jockey. I'm not built for that. There are people built for this fight, but the senior members, the elder statesmen, let's be polite, of the Democratic Party are not built for this fight. They're just not. They were raised in a totally different universe. Joe Biden was raised in a different universe. Our Senator Dick Durbin was raised in a different planet than he lives on now. And he doesn't know how to cope with the fact that the entire Republican Party, that he used to be able to, even if they'd scream at him in public and call him a dirty commie, he could do deals with and talk to behind closed doors and get along and go to each other's kids' softball games. And that party is dead now. And they do not know what to do now. And we do.
And we need to bring this up at town halls.
Yes, we do.
When there's a town hall with our senator or congressman, and that senator or congressman is over retirement age, our retirement age, 67 is our retirement age. Yep. If they're older than that, I want to know. I want them to convince me that they're up to the job.
Of fighting
fascism.
Of being loud.
At their age.
Yeah. We need people to run in metaphorically to the fight with a sword in each hand.
Yep.
And not raise polite or have little videos with them with them, Cory Booker and whoever else.
And I don't want to hear about your good friend, Mitch McConnell. No. I don't want to hear it.
No. Nobody wants to hear it.
Yeah.
But the people, the person or group who can harness that are going to be rocketed to the top of the ticket.
Yep.
And the people who can't can be mentors. You can teach the next generation how committees work and how a bill becomes a law and where the bathrooms are. There's still value in your ancient wisdom, but you are not built for this fight. And you need to step out of the way and put people in there who are. And that means, in a lot of ways, you have to be subordinate to people who are 30 years younger than you.
Yes,
and I know that is really, really hard for some people to do.
Well, and you know, we know that at least 60% of the Congress is entirely dependent on staff,
right,
to get them through the day.
Yep.
And that's not feasible. It's in this fight against truly Nazi people. It's not going to work. So I feel the frustration. I do too. But the country needs activists, and asking the Congress to do that for you, they're not going to do it. It's up to us.
Well, if you're a congressperson in a blue district, go over to an adjacent red district, two districts away, 3 districts away, and have a town hall meeting there.
Tim Walz was saying he's volunteered to go to districts where the Republican will not have a town hall have a town hall.
20 of those. Let's do 20 of those.
We need 20 of those. And we have a deep bench to do it.
Yeah. And you know, if you're in a safe district and you can be, and you're comfortable coming out swinging and not saying, my good friends on the other side don't seem to understand. Yeah. These fucking fascists are taking away your Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security and pissing in your ear.
Treating veterans like shit.
Now, how is that okay with you? Why did you vote for this? Didn't you? We told you this was going to happen. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Why aren't you in Congressman's office right now demanding that he insist that Elon Musk resign and stand in front of Congress and answer for his actions? Because he's taking your money out and putting it in his pocket. How is that okay with you? We need somebody like that holding town hall meetings in red districts.
That's it.
Yep.
Each week we post to our Patreon page and website an Internet Kitty sent in by you, the listeners. This week's Internet Kitty is a pair of farmyard animals sent in by our good friend of the pod, Dog-Faced Herman.
But you could do that? You can just send in farm animals?
You can send in any animal you want.
Oh my gosh, okay.
And Dog-Faced Herman raises sheep.
He does.
And this is awesome. Thelma, the sheep, and her good friend Elle, the horse.
Oh.
And Thelma is standing right next to Elle and sort of tucking her head underneath Elle's coat and telling her a secret in this picture. And they are sharing secrets. And Elle's tongue is out. So you know Elle is really relaxed. Like the horse is just like, yeah, I'm just walking around with my sheep, my sheep girlfriend, girlfriend, let me tell you. So it's such a cute picture. It's up at our Patreon page. Everything on our Patreon page is open to the public. So no paywalls there. That's patreon.com/proleftpod. Or you can go to proleftpod.com and look at Thelma and Elle. And of course, Thelma the sheep and Elle the horse eat freshly poured farm food, our fake sponsor. Whether you have a woolly sheep, a noble steed, or any kind of barnyard friend, they will walk to the food trough and demand that the food they eat is only freshly poured. Freshly poured, freshly poured. Oh my Lord, it's freshly poured. And you can visit Elle the horse and Thelma the sheep at our Patreon page, patreon.com/proleftpod, or our website, proleftpod.com. And you can send your Internet Kitty dog, farmyard friend, anything you want to our email address, proleftpodcast@gmail.com, where you can also write to both of us.
Now, I am constantly impressed by how Freshly Poured's wide selection of food products for every kind of creature under the sun.
Purina, eat your heart out, because Freshly Poured is in every bowl.
Snails, rabbits, horses, goats, elephants, heffalumps, unicorns, everything. They got everything. The problem is that our fake sponsor can't pay our bills.
No.
So in lieu of imaginary money from a fake sponsor who we love dearly, Don't forget our gourmet coffee guidelines out here in the real world. If you can afford to buy an espresso-based beverage for yourself or your horse or your sheep, buy one for us. This isn't charity. This is, in fact, our job, and we've been doing a lot of it this week. If you can spare $5 a month, please spare $5 a month. And you know what? I watched that whole goddamn speech and the Democratic response, so send $5 for that. I need something to calm my nerves after watching all that nonsense.
He did the Lord's work this week. He really did.
I'm just going to sit here and wait until people send $5. No.
Go to proleftpod.com. There's also a PayPal link there. If you just want to give one time, you can do it through PayPal. You can mail us a check, however you want to. If you mail us a check, make it out to the Professional F podcast.
Yeah,
please.
screw the Gourmet Coffee guidelines. I'm going to hold my breath till I turn blue. Please also share our show on social media. And if you love this podcast, please get someone else to listen to. And thank you so very much for doing it. That really does make a big difference.
Yeah. And Driftglass, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Well, Blue Gal, I know it looks like the Internet Kitties are sleeping through the second Trump term, but actually, trust me, they are sharpening their claws for the midterms.
Let's think about living. Think about living. Let's think about loving. Think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with the switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional F podcast is recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright 2024-25, GGBG Productions.